I honestly would never hate on streamers because that's a legit real job.
Yes, I literally left a non NBA fan, and then I come back and I'm like, "Go Spurs, go!"
Like, what if God is essentially an alien? Like people think of God like floating in a cloud or floating in the void of space and just creating
Yeah.
everything. But if God essentially created everything, he would be the ultimate scientist.
Too late, don't wait. Take care of your mental health. Take control of the cards that you was dealt. You can make it far, hey, don't doubt yourself. Every time you fail, just take it as a win. Keep in mind we all learning.
We got to get through this podcast fast because
I know.
Kaylin's waiting to go watch the first episode of Island. I mean Love Island. So,
I know. Where's my water bottle? I forgot my water bottle. Fine.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to debut it until it has my sticker.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not ready to debut my bottle yet.
Yeah, well, we're back. We take some time in between episodes because we don't think nobody really cares. So if
Basically,
if you really are adamant of us coming out with the episode every week, just let us know. Maybe that'll help encourage us. But until then, I just think sometimes if there's no podcast, there's no podcast.
Yeah, I like that.
It's just
That's
the way
like
it
our
goes.
new term.
Right. Okay. So and then another reason why it took so long in between episodes because the last episode we had just released last week was actually recorded like 2 weeks prior. I was like,
No, because I can tell them. I've been out of town.
Yeah.
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 So I was out of town for a couple of weeks. My mom had a really major neck surgery, and just got to be there for her and
Protect your neck.
yeah. I had to be there to protect
That's
her
an
neck.
inside joke. Sorry, I didn't mean nothing bad.
No, but for real, that's basically what I was there. I was the protector of her neck at that.
You protect
at that
your
time.
neck.
Yeah, so I stayed with my mom for a couple of weeks and was able to help her. And yeah, she's totally recovering now. Got to visit with my bros. That was cool. So yeah, what did you do? What did you do while I was gone? Do you feel lost?
Yeah, pretty much. Like just bored. Just
See, you're
work
bored
and then
without
bored and then just try to play video games.
Yeah.
That's when I noticed that I don't that's when I noticed I have reached a stage of adulthood where I just don't have time for certain games anymore.
I know, yeah,
Like-
you were supposed to play Subnautica.
Yeah, I literally bought it and it's just sitting there in my freaking. There's so many games, especially with Steam. Steam, if you're any sort of gamer, Steam is the best thing because it's they just have $50 games. They're just hey, one day this $50 normally it's on sale for $5.
Yeah.
So you just get stacked with just games in your library that I'm probably never gonna play. So maybe I'll leave it freaking oh Jesus.
Uh-oh. Okay, there you
There
go.
we go. Yeah, so one day that'll be a good gift to my kids. But anyway, yeah, so I just try to catch up with gaming, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, I just reached the age where especially multiplayer games. I think the older you get, you realize single player games are the way to go. Especially if you're
Unless you're playing with me, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. No, I mean multiplayer is in the sense of things like Fortnite or hero shooters like Overwatch or Marvel Rivals. I was in from the second Marvel Rivals came out, I was so into it because it's it's just like Overwatch, and I was ready to get tired of Overwatch except it's with Marvel heroes. So boom, it's better. I'm ashamed to say I spent so much time and money on that game. It's kind of just you're so into it in the moment, but then it just becomes irrelevant. Why did I spend so much on this game,
Yeah.
physically and mentally, and you're just no, I think the older you get, you realize gaming should just be about single player games, games that you can just sit back and relax and just play at your own pace.
And
I
it's
think that's what I'm getting into now.
Is that the same as you could have are those the games where you have stories and stuff like that?
Yeah, the story mode games like the Spider-Man, even down to the Maddens or WWE 2K or just anything you can play solo. Because those games have online modes too, but I've always never with Madden stuff. I've never played the online modes. I don't know. My whole point is, I just think the older you get, just you realize that single player games are the way to go. And if you want to try to achieve, because the whole point of people playing Fortnite and Overwatch and grinding so much on these games like Rivals, it's they just want to try to prove. They want a clip shot that they're the best. They want to stream that they're the best. It's if you want to prove I feel that's it's a hollow thing to chase. You know what I mean?
So do you think multiplayer games are only good for streamers?
Maybe, but then again, there's people like Queso that they get super popular just on off of playing just whatever they want to play.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. It's just you play whatever you want to play. But as a gamer, I think that if you say like, oh, I'm a gamer, and it's like, oh, what do you play? Oh, I play Fortnite 100 hours a week, and it's like, well, like, have you played any of these other games?
Right.
Like, how's your achievements look? No. That's getting to the nitpicky, but at the end of the day, just play what you want. But yeah, I just think like don't sleep on solo single player games.
Right, yeah. That kind of reminds me like my brother. He's just like all into Fortnite from like what I've noticed. Like no matter what, he will like try and play a different game, and then like when I was there, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go play Dead by Daylight," and then like I talked to him later, and he's like, "Oh, I'm playing Fortnite." So it's like you try and play other games, but you just like end up going back to like just what you know and what you're used to.
That's good too if you can keep up with it, because that's the thing. Games like that, like I just feel like I'm the type of person. I'm like how I am with games. I'm a completionist. I have to, like I guess do everything, do every challenge and every event and stuff. So like if I miss something in games like that, those games get updated so fast,
right?
And there's so many things coming out. It's like if I can't keep up with it, I like it like turns me off. I'm like, no, like there's so much that's going on. I don't even want to get back in. I'll just rather start a new game. I don't know. It's weird. It feels like that. So, but people that can keep up with it, and maybe it all comes down to having friends to play with. If you have enough friends to play with, then yeah, of course those games are always good. Like you said, we play games together.
Yeah.
I used to play Fortnite a lot of my brothers, but we're just like, just adulthood is just so busy, and it's like, if you have friends to play with, that's a big thing. Because I'm over here saying, single player games are the way to go. But maybe if I had but then again, like even with Marvel Rivals, when I would play that, I would have so many people request me and want to play, and I would just like ignore
people. Not like that.
I know, because they're like, to a sense, I'm just such an introvert. It's like, like, oh, I'm over here like, oh, I want people to play with, but then I'm like, they invite me, and I'm like, no, I'd rather just play by myself. Like
make it make sense.
It doesn't, because that's why, like, I'll go ahead and say it, like, because I don't know if I'll ever go back to it, but I started off streaming as an alias. And I streamed for like a month, and this is the last time you went out of town.
Yeah.
I was like, you're out of town. I have nothing to do. Let me try this streaming thing. So I still have the alias account because I just want to post game clips on it, and then maybe you'll try streaming on it. Maybe
I've tried. Yeah,
we're not gonna tell people the account. If you find it, you find it. If you don't, you don't. Like But I actually felt like it was pretty productive for the first.
Yeah.
Couple weeks, getting normal people, people, donating a rose or galaxy. Oh my God. I remember when
you got your galaxy, you were like, you probably thought we're rich. 'Cause that's one thing is people like make so much, like such a big deal about like getting a galaxy and this now when it's only like $5 or $10, right?
Oh
it's
my
like
gosh. When I was in between games and I went to the restroom and I came back and people were like, you got a galaxy, you got a galaxy. I was like, what? I was like, oh my God, I got a galaxy. I thought I was got like $1,000. I go and I'm like, after the stream, I'm all looking at it, and then it hasn't updated yet. So like, I wake up and I'm waiting for it to update. It's $4. I was like, this is what people are begging for.
Yes.
They're begging because I think it's like $8 or $10. But then after the TikTok fees, you get like $4. So I'm like, people beg for these.
Yes.
Like I thought, like each one of those was like $1,000.
Yeah. So honestly, so did I. Like before, like you started streaming, that's when like I finally understood like what is the hype about, especially like, and then people do other stuff like on stream, like the challenges and stuff like that. And not to mention like roses, like you were saying, is like the most like basic. I feel like gift that somebody could give to somebody, and that's only like a penny. So it's like, what is the point? What is really?
Yeah, because I got a rose too. No, actually, no, it was with the galaxy and the rose. I ended up having like $5 in my account because the rose ended up being like $1. But I mean, I really appreciate that, and that was really cool that happened. But my whole point is that the more I started doing it, the more I realized that people started coming on, people were starting getting regular, and then they start asking you about your life and what do you really do, and trying to get more into knowing you personally. And then you have people that add you in the game, and then literally it got to the point where I couldn't log on the game, and then they're like constantly invite, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just ended up blocking people because I'm so introvert. It just came at me so quick. I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I'm sorry. That's why I really I honestly would never hate on streamers because that's a legit real job because you have to be on 24/7, and if you don't have the right personality for that,
Yeah.
like me, you're just gonna get freaked out.
I think
And
that's
I was
what it
just
comes
like,
down to.
yes, you have to have the personality for it because I'm such an introvert. I do not, and I respect it, and I respect that and I respect to say that I can't do it because yeah, I don't have the personality for that, especially talking to people and having like I just want to chill and game, like you know.
Yeah,
I
I
when
like
I
you could say
game, I
you
just want
tried.
yes, that's my time to decompress and my
Yeah.
time to be in my own thoughts and be in my own world and whatever recreational activity I want to do before I game and that's my time. Like I don't want to have to be acting like I'm performing while I'm trying to relax gaming. So all respect to streamers. I don't know how we got on this
Yes.
topic, but yeah.
Well, yeah, because I started asking you about like what you do when I'm out of town, and yeah, that's basically is you just try and like catch up on your gaming.
Yeah, yeah, we got to get to this list. Yeah, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but yeah, the Spurs. Yeah, speaking of which,
Oh yes,
you got that's something you got into out of town.
Yep.
Is I'm
Yes,
like,
I
all
literally
of a sudden you
left a
come back
non-NBA fan, and then I come back and I'm like, "Go Spurs, go!"
you're on a basketball fan telling me about these players and this and that, and I'm just like, oh, okay,
Yes.
like that's cool.
No,
though.
because
That's
like
really cool.
no, yes, like I finally like this past trip or whatever because my stepdad's into basketball and like explain like the whole lore and stuff, and then I realized like how like deep the San Antonio Spurs like are in it, and that's when I like kind of like okay, well like I would ask questions here and there, and it's one of those things like I feel like I learned it pretty quick, kind of like how I do with like NFL.
Mm.
But yeah, no, and like nobody can even say like, oh, you just became a fan of the Spurs. Like, check my
I'm a
fucking birth
bandwagon.
certificate. Check my birth certificate,
God,
okay?
no.
I am a born and raised Spurs fan.
Not trying to use born in San Antonio to rep the Spurs.
Literally, I could claim it. Like, I am a fan, okay? So you can hate on me or you can.
Never played a game of basketball.
Hey, I was on a basketball team actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was too. I ended up being the mascot because it sucked so bad.
No, I sucked really bad too. I remember it was 8th grade and it was my first game that my mom ever came to, right? This is like a hilarious story. If my mom is listening, she's already fucking laughing her ass off because the first game, my mom, all my brothers came. They're like, yeah, Caylin, yeah, cheering me on from the stands. The coach is like, Caylin, you're in. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. So like I get off the bench, right? Because I'm just warming it at this point. I get off the bench. I get in the game. They pass the ball one time. The coach blows the whistle. Is like, Caylin, get out of there. I didn't do shit. And then immediately, I'm pretty sure my mom and them left. They were like, yeah, we'll just see you after the game. No, I was a certified bench warmer. But
yeah.
I'm proud.
Oh my gosh.
Because look where it got me today.
Look, we got you today, certified, sitting on a podcast bench. No.
I know, right?
No, I had one of those moments too. One of those moments when I played baseball. I was a designated hitter just because I wasn't too good at hitting, but I knew how to I knew how to bunt, and I knew how to not.
You know how to what?
Bunt, do the bunt, like where you
What's
just
that?
boop, where you put the bat horizontally, and then the ball just hits the bat.
And
like
you just tap it?
It just basically like taps the bottom of the bat, and then it hits a ground ball and it rolls. It's kind of like a way to psych them out where they think it's gonna go far, and then it just ends up being a ground ball, and you can just run to first.
Ooh, okay.
I was good at bunting, and every now and again, I knew how to detect a strike from a ball, so I wouldn't purposely swing when I knew it was coming in too close, because then that was against the pitcher. It was called a ball. When they strike, when you swing and you miss, it's a strike, and then it's a ball when you don't. When it's out, or I think it's outside the pitcher's box. Yeah. So it would come in too close or too far that way, or too high or too low.
I'm sorry, but isn't that like basic baseball knowledge?
No, yeah. So basically, nobody in the whole team knew how to basically do that, and I did, because I guess it's just like it's all about geometry and angles.
Yeah.
So, but then I sucked at defense. Like I was too. They tried me out at first base. I did okay, but I was too short for first base, and I'm left-handed.
Oh.
So apparently, there's not a lot of positions you can play when you're left-handed. So basically, my whole point is they just made me a designated hitter. And
so you're certified bunter.
I was certified bunter, yes. And but at this one point, it was it was a girl that I was like talking to, or I liked at the school. This was at So,
Yeah.
and then it was my brother. The only game my parents never came to my games, and my brother only came to one game, and it was one game, and I was like, all right, I'm about to hit a home run. And Jordan is like, strike. I was like, all right, I got this. And the guy was like, strike. And then the third time, I heard my brother in the back. He's like, come on, bro, you got this. And I'm like, this is the movie moment. This is gonna be out of there. And then strike. And then I just walked back, and then he left.
And JR left.
Yeah, so I'll probably cut that out because it was too long of an explanation.
No, that was literally like on point with what I was saying.
Yes, I was just trying
we
to
both have terrible sports stories.
Yeah, I was just trying to tag your story with another story. So yeah, a few episodes ago we talked about all the theories of death, and I like that that's kind of like it ended up becoming the theme of us, other than just doing current events and things. We talk a lot about death and dreams and things like that. But one thing, we did 15 theories of death. Like I said, if you hadn't seen it, go back and listen and watch that episode. But somebody mentioned that we didn't bring up the egg theory. Have you ever heard of the egg theory?
I don't think I have, honestly.
Yeah, so that's another interesting / maybe scary theory of death, is basically the ultimate destiny. So like, think of like the universe itself as like a womb. The entire universe was created solely as an incubator for an egg, which is your soul, to mature. So you eventually live as every person who has ever existed. Once you have experienced every joy, pain, and life path, your soul will be mature enough to be born as a god. So basically that means that everybody that you ever know, or everybody on this earth, it's essentially the thing of reincarnation. This is the scary part, because I want to know your thoughts on this. This is the thing about, it's essentially reincarnation, but you reincarnate to live again as everyone that's ever lived. So your family, every friend, every stranger you've ever met, every person that you know, every news story you read, every person that's ever been tortured, that's ever been murdered, that's ever, been rich or famous, like, you're eventually going to live as everybody. And then once you've lived as everybody, then you become a god.
Honestly, that doesn't sound like fun, and it seems like it would take forever.
Right?
Because I feel like there's like so many people for like that to even like be a thing. Like I honestly choose to say this is not a thing, but I mean, yeah, it just really just sounds like torture, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, like I said, everyone that's ever been technically tortured, you will live their life. So I would at least hope that if this was true, that I already lived. Jeez. Oh my god. So I would at least hope, if this was true, that I've already lived the worst parts.
The bad parts, right? Yeah, that's true. That's what I would say.
Well, I just think it goes back to we can't know what happens, because then that would ruin the fun.
Yeah.
And then we'd want to go there too quick. So
that's kind of like what you were telling me earlier about that movie. Now you literally brought it up earlier about the Disclosure Day, and now I'm seeing ads about it.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that is that like real? Is that like, I've always said that every conspiracy we've known has always been quote unquote hidden in plain sight in movies and stuff, because you think of these directors and writers, producers, or people, or actors are high enough of a status to have gone and seen things, like they know what's going on, and they hide. Oh Jesus, that was weird. It just like went limp. And they hide things in plain sight. And this Disclosure Day, where it's like, it's called Disclosure Day, and it's about telling people that aliens exist and they're here, and they may be shape-shifting into deers. And then Steven Spielberg himself apparently knows some shit, where he says, if people knew the truth about aliens, that we would go crazy and question our own religions.
Yeah, I think that's what I read, was like that's what the whole movie is about, is like, if you knew that these things existed, would you live your life differently? Well, of course. That's literally why, like, going back to, I mean, well, I'm not speaking for like you or like for me necessarily. I'm speaking for like majority of people. Yeah, people would probably live differently, but that's also along the same lines of, like you said, like, if we knew what happened after we died, then we would live our life differently.
Yes.
Like, that's just what, like, we're just meant to not know anything, so we just live how we live.
But I don't know how differently we would think if we knew aliens. It's like, okay, are they going to help us? Are they going to give us infinite technology or power? Like, I think not power as in physical power. I mean, like, power as in energy. Yeah, what is
I think majority of people would probably live in fear, not necessarily like trying to
Ah.
do better. I think a lot of people would just be fearful, or like, you meet somebody on the street, or you come across like a dog or something in the street, for example, like, and, oh, you're just like automatically like gonna convince yourself like that's an alien. Like, why did you just come up to me? Or that's just an example,
People are
but
going to be in fear
that's
of
what
their
I
own
think.
reality.
Exactly.
People are not
Yeah,
going to know what to think.
people aren't gonna want to leave their house probably,
Oh yeah,
or they're
there's
gonna
going to be
think
a
that.
lot of those.
Yeah, that's what I mean. All the kooks out there.
I don't think there's nothing to worry about because I think it's all falling right into God's plan because they try to say like, oh, aliens are real. I mean, aliens are real. They created us, and God isn't real. I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is all part of this was already all written about and I don't know, prophesized that like, yeah, these are falling angels coming back and letting us know that yeah, we created y'all, we helped y'all out, but there's still a higher hand, above them.
Yeah.
I would say, or I would think, I'd believe, because then you'd be like, oh, well, who created them? So,
Right. And that's really like that just reminds me of like how I feel like I've been hearing like a lot about like the Bible and like God and stuff like that, especially too like they highlighted it a lot in Euphoria. Like I feel like we haven't got to talk about like that the finale happened, and I feel like the finale was, this is like spoiler alert by the way, the finale was basically like a big like Bible ad. They talked about like the Bible a lot, and then they really focused on like the like the overdosing and like the fentanyl like outbreak in the world and stuff like that. So yeah, that just reminded me of like that.
yeah, and I'm in no. I mean, it's good to understand it. It's good to know. And by all means, I'm not trying to say like you need to be a Bible thumper because I'm not that. I'm not that person that's gonna just break down and just start reciting the scripture to you. But it's like it's like people look at it differently, and I look at it. I for sure probably look at the Bible differently from a lot of other people because it's kind of like it's scripture, yes, but it's kind of also history, and it's kind of also, like I said, prophecy and philosophy, and it's weird because people still look at God and religion like the Bible as like back then and like swords and fiery swords and riding horses and things like that. But if you like read the Bible with a different perspective of like the things we know today, it's just like weird. I've always said it's weird that you're just like, that sounds like aliens, and that sounds like aliens, and that sounds like aliens. Like, what if God is essentially an alien? Like, people think, like, if God created everything, people just think he was just like, yeah, people think of God like floating in a cloud or floating in the void of space and just creating
Yeah.
everything. But if God essentially created everything, he would be the ultimate scientist. So, what if all these aliens and things that we're thinking of is essentially the God is essentially
Yes.
God, but in a weird. I don't want to sound weird when I say like try to, but like in a way it could be.
Right.
Like yeah, like people think yeah, like I said, that God just floating in the clouds, but like no, God would be in the biggest spaceship. He would have all the best technology and all the best equipment and all the best people working for him to create everything, essentially like an alien.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that like gets me is like, yeah, it does seem like that, like when you're reading the Bible and stuff, but like what about like the movies or like the shows that like try to like portray that? Like it doesn't, it's like obviously when you're watching like a Christian film or religious film compared to like an alien movie, like they're completely different. So like I wondered like what is it that like do we have like this perception of like what the Bible depicts based off of like what we've seen?
Well, yeah, I mean, because at the end of the day, yes, it is history because it was written and it goes back so long ago, and yeah, I think that the whole thing with God and aliens that even goes before the people that were writing it and the people that experienced it lived.
Hmm.
That goes beyond their understanding. They wouldn't even, you know, I guess, what's the word? Hypothesize that.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't even understand or think about that. But they explain things in the way they knew how to explain things. Like if you look at the book of Ezekiel when he was talking about uh the angels that came to him, and he said that they were moving like lightning bolts or like strikes of lightning. And it's like, well, that kind of sounds like teleportation. The whole
Oh.
thing with the wheel within a wheel. Kind of sounds like a Dyson sphere. In Revelations, when they describe giant locusts with like spinning wings flying in the sky, it's like that sounds like a helicopter.
Yeah.
Like, it's just weird things like that. There's just weird things. And then my favorite is, what is it, Genesis 6:4, like right in the beginning of the Bible. And it's like, oh yeah, there was giants at those times, and they came down and they mated with the women of the earth, and they created the Nephilim. But anyway, let's move on to this next topic.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
the
like,
crazy part.
because that's
you've actually read you've read that to me, and I'm just like, oh.
Yes, and that's essentially where the book of Enoch is supposed to fit in, where it talks about these fallen angels that came down and gave us forbidden technology and all this stuff. And it's like, oh, let's just take that out because it's non-canon to the Catholic Church. It's like, what is you telling me the religion and the whole church is a manga that you can just take out things because it's not canon? No, if it was in there, it was in there for a reason.
Right.
But they took it out in the 16th century, and it's like, okay. You know,
and
then it talks
what do
about
they do with the rest of what did they do with it? What did they do with the information that they took out?
Well, they just put it away. They're just like, oh, it doesn't make sense. I mean, you can obviously access it and stuff, but it's just like, they're like, oh, they deny it. Like, no, that's not true. And then I believe there's other that's the book of Enoch is not the only one. There's other like books that have been taken out of the Bible, some describing dragons, and different people battling dragons, and the word dinosaur was created like in like the 1800s. I believe George Washington died before they even came up with the word dinosaur. So what were dinosaurs called before dinosaurs? They were called dragons. So then that goes to the whole other conspiracy of maybe dinosaurs did roam the earth at the same time as humans. They were just classified as dragons. So it's whole rabbit holes you can get to. So if we're not already blocked on or flagged on YouTube or TikTok, then we will be now.
I know, right? Or like giant chickens, like that video you sent me where it was like they gave like chickens like arms, or what did they do, or something like that? Well,
just a T-Rex. Because that's the whole thing of that we could be all misunderstood about dinosaurs. That there's so many examples of that. Like back then, they just recreated what we know as all the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park. They just recreated it based off bones. But we know now, like with cartilage and feathers that don't get fossilized, like there could have been other things, like a beaver tail, for example. A beaver tail is pointed. So if a beaver got fossilized and a million years later they try to recreate a beaver tail, they're not going to have the flat tail because they don't know that flat part of the tail is cartilage. So they would just go based off the spiked bone. Same thing with whales. Whales have technically fingers, but it's just a big fin. So if they recreated whales a million years, they would recreate them with fingers. Same thing with dinosaurs. They can't account for cartilage, and they can't account for feathers. And if you look at the skeleton of a T-Rex, compare it to a skeleton of an ostrich, we always make fun of the T-Rex how these little arms, and it's like, what are these little arms for? Well, because those little arms were part of big wings. So yeah, that could be the thing. So you recreate a T-Rex into what they think it looks like now in 2026 with feathers, it kind of looks cute. Yeah. Wow. But the only thing I don't get about that is the teeth. That how all the dinosaurs had, or the main like T-Rex and stuff, like T-Rex had teeth. So if they are descendants of chickens, or chickens are descendants of dinosaurs, like at what point
just have beaks?
Right. At one point did they lose their teeth? Yeah, that's the weird. That's the only weird part. But
recently being pulled over the city of Lake Worth today. We're doing an operation for distracted driver, and you drove past me holding the phone with your right hand, manipulating that phone. I mean, I saw you with the phone in your hand.
Obviously not. So you want to just call this a day?
I don't want to call it a day. You had a hand up manipulating the phone. You just said
my right hand.
Well, I thought I saw you with your right hand. You had a hand up. The right hand. I saw you manipulate.
So you didn't.
With the right hand, perhaps not, right? But I saw you
didn't see me with my right hand.
Okay, so are you saying
that you saw me with my right hand?
I know what I just said. I'm asking you now. Did you or not have your phone on your hand?
I did not.
You did not have your phone in your hand?
I did not.
Hand to God, you didn't have phone in your hand?
Hand to God.
The other hand to God, you don't have phone in your hand?
Hand to God.
Cool. You have your driver's license, registration,
and insurance?
Oh my God.
What a douchebag. Yes, he like literally just can't admit that
that's the
like
worst.
Maybe saw something wrong.
Right. And that's the worst trait, not just men. That's the worst trait in humans. I think when I meet somebody or I'm hanging out with somebody or I'm talking to somebody and something happens where they're blatantly wrong and they right away, it could be the littlest thing or it could be the biggest thing. It's like one of the things that I like to read people on. Like, yeah, that's just a big sign. Like that, something as little like that, you can tell a whole person's personality. That they can't just admit that they're wrong. That they're, yeah, they're probably want to be. They can't even be in control of their own decisions and emotions. So, like, what else do you think they're not going to be in control of? Like,
Right. Yeah. It's just, and then like to even like say stuff like, oh, hand to God, oh, other hand.
Yes,
Like,
and like to kind of turn it around on her and try to humiliate her in the process.
Yes, he totally did.
And not even
Yeah,
apologizing, not even a sorry. That just makes me sick.
Mm.
You're sick to my stomach, fam.
Yeah, no, she had every right to be too back.
But the best part about this case is, so she tried to fight it and take it to court. Because I don't know if he's ticket. Yeah, I mean, he must have ticketed her because she tried to fight it and take it to court, and he dropped the case last minute because he didn't want to have to go to court and defend his
thought,
defend his
just
words.
pay
Oh,
it.
you know your words. You know what you said. How come you don't want to go to court and defend it? You.
Yes, literally, straight up, that's what it is.
Yeah, these are things about cops. This is why people hate cops. A couple bad apples spoil the bunch. I've always been respectful to cops. I've always, comply and nice and, chill and whatever, But, man, I'm just glad I didn't come across douchebags like this because, yeah, they don't make it easy.
Yeah.
They don't make it easy.
Like, didn't you have one instance where a cop pulled you over for speeding and you were like, well, to be honest with you, like, you were riding my ass. Like,
yes, they're like, why were you speeding up? I was like, because, yeah, you're on my ass. All due respect. I was like, with all due respect, sir, you're kind of on my ass. So I sped up to get out your way.
Yeah.
It was like, okay. And then luckily I have my license. So that's always a level of respect. Whenever, you give them your driver's license with your license, they know that you're a responsible owner. And
You're
they're
a
like, oh, do
law-abiding
you have your
citizen.
vehicle in your car? And you're like, yes. And right here. And yeah, so I think they respect that. So that's always helped me get out with warnings.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's douchebags out there. They get that badge, and they're like, oh man, anyone that's ever wronged me, now I'm just gonna take it out on everybody.
Ugh, sick.
It's sick, and I guess it takes a lot of humbling to mature somebody like that. Whatever it may be. Speaking of
What
which,
is that?
The water that you asked for.
Yeah, a large glass of water for my live stream. This is like a kid size, free sample size.
I'm sorry.
I'm an adult. Bring out an adult size, okay? You're messing the whole video up. There are a lot of people watching. Okay, just delete that part.
Can't, we're live.
You can't back up like 30 seconds.
No, live streaming.
Okay, well, that's an example of how certain people can be a stumbling block to other people and cause them to sin. Like she caused me to sin and become angry because she didn't get the water right. So that's something you want to avoid, being a stumbling block to others. So that was a good example. But you know what? Let's just, now I'm off. Let's just restart. People are going to restart. If you want to join the next live stream, please join. We're going to start over. What is that?
Is this
The water that you asked for.
oh God.
I don't know.
I don't even know what to say.
Now, I don't know what's worse. Like I was saying, what's worse? A person that can't admit they're wrong, or a person that claims to be a pastor, that claims to be a person of God, but just lives their life being a douchebag?
Yeah.
That might be the worst. That might be the scum of the earth, fam.
That's definitely worse because he's trying to hide the fact that he's a dick. The cop was like, knew what he was doing. He knew what he was saying. But this guy, oh God, get him off my screen.
Yes.
I can't, like.
That's going to be a new soundboard. It's sick to my stomach, fam.
Yes, right. Clip that. But
yeah, that's, oh my God. And there's no more douchey people than, like I said, go by the Bible and understand and read the Bible, but I'm not a Bible thumper, a person that tries to, go around saying, oh, I'm a man of God, but I'm just going to be a douchebag, I
and
don't
then
know.
to immediately blame it on her, that was the worst part. Not even the
Yes.
fact that what he was saying or doing. It was literally the fact
Probably
that he
didn't
was
tip.
just like, oh, she caused me to be like that. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Probably didn't even tip. Now we're talking about worse people. Who's even worse? Are people that don't tip? People don't tip, huh? What do you think about that? I mean, especially, even if you get bad service, you got to tip something decent to the server. And people are like, oh, I don't need a tip. I don't need a tip. Tipping isn't mandatory. The restaurant should pay them more. It's like, hey, yeah, tipping isn't mandatory. Just like putting away your grocery cart isn't mandatory. Just shows the world what a douchebag you are. All right, tip. people. That's why I was in the work program when I was in high school. And my senior year, I was in the work program where you got to leave school early because you had a job, and I would go and work at Walmart. I think that it should be mandatory for every senior to be in the work program where half of the semester you work at a restaurant and the other half of the semester you work in some kind of retail or customer service job. If that happened and those kids that had to experience that in high school become adults and go off to college or go off and just being regular adults, it would make the whole society a better place because people would understand. Not only will workers understand how to treat customers would understand how to treat workers, especially in a job of like being a server or something. Because I used to be a server. I'm not a server now. I used to be a server. I was a server in college. My freshman year of college, I was a server at Applebee's. And oh my God, talk about the scum, people.
No, that's what I was going to say. I think the tipping situation definitely hits home more with you because you actually have the serving experience. I, for one, never got a chance to serve
exactly.
at a
See,
restaurant.
so if you experience it, it would hit home with you. Everyone should experience it so everyone should understand.
Yes.
There's too many people. They either get the easy ride or just never had certain jobs that they just, going back to the church people, nothing better than Sunday at Applebee's when all the people get off church and they just come and treat everybody like shit.
They just finished giving 10%. They just finished tithing 10% of their salary to the church, and then they go and tip 0 at the Applebee's.
Yes, they're like, oh, I just gave the church my whole check, so here's $2.
Oh, that's sick.
There's just a lot of scams out there when it comes to religion, when it comes to business, when it comes to just having to just live life. There's so many scams.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of scams, you hear about this? Thanks to AI, the Steam Deck has went up $200 to $300 each one. This might be the most expensive handheld console. You might as well get a Nintendo Switch because, like I said, like I was just talking about Steam earlier and being the best gaming platform and having the best games, game store or whatever. A Steam Deck, a 512 gigabyte Steam Deck went up. I think the old price was it like $300 or $400? I think it was. What happened here? Yeah, so the 512 went up from $549 to $789, while the 1 terabyte OLED model went up from $649 to $949. $1,000 for a handheld console.
And that's because of the RAM?
Yep.
Oh.
I mean, that's the most expensive thing in that is the RAM. That's why. And
could they even sell that?
Probably not. They're probably not gonna. It's probably
I'm
a dead.
just,
It's probably
thinking, yeah.
And this is the same console that's been out for 4 years. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's still great, but to be out for that, to be 4-year hardware with 2026 RAM, that's gonna cost $1,000. You might as well build your own computer at that point, unless you really have the money and you just want a handheld.
Right, but even like you said, you can get a Switch in better colors and all that.
And that's the only thing about exclusives is that's why Nintendo will always be there, and it would always have its own domination in the market because Nintendo's got Nintendo's got Mario, got the Mario exclusive Zelda. Like there's gonna be games that you can't get on anything else but a Nintendo Switch. So
right,
at this point you might as well. Have a computer for your Steam games and have a Nintendo Switch for your Nintendo games. So
cheaper that way.
That's just ridiculous. Like, and Steam is like one of the better companies. Steam is not, or Valve is not a greedy company. And the CEO does have did just build like a couple $1 million yacht, or get a couple $1 million yacht. But regardless. They're not. I would defend them till I die. No, they are not a greedy company, but they're always good to their customers. But at the same time, it's like, we just can't help the economy and the market that we live in today.
Yeah,
that's just ridiculous. That is sick to my stomach, fam.
Leave your mom's nowhere. You have money and you left your mom's there? Yo, you're sick to my stomach, fam. But if it's not true, Shorty's just talking shit. She's...
What is this?
That's a Toronto accent.
Oh.
Okay.
That's how people
talking about.
That's how hood people talk in Toronto.
A good couple. But anyways.
Oh shit.
The thing is this girl is blurping his business to shorties like me. And what I don't like is if the business is true that you left your moms in the hood, somebody go smoke that you. You don't leave your moms nowhere. You have money and you left your moms there? Yo, you're sick to my stomach, fam. But if it's not true, Shorty's just talking shit. Because she's jealous of him or something.
Maybe. I mean, he's up with Drake
Oh
now.
my
so I know what he wants from him.
gosh.
Shout out to the. Is that the Fizza podcast or what?
Plush? I don't
I
know.
don't even know this podcast. There's so many podcasts out there. Remember when podcasts weren't so political? Dude, I remember a time when every freaking podcast out there wasn't so political. That's why we're one of the last podcasts. So sometimes we go off in the rails just because of crazy stuff that I mean, we just can't help but talk about the government and the world. But we're not a political podcast. I miss when every freaking podcast wasn't so political. Talking about, I think this and I think this. Hey, you started a podcast because you're okay? You had no other choice. You had nothing else to do. You had to promote your comedy dates. And now you're over here thinking that you're freaking, I don't know. I don't even know. You know, just shut the fuck up and do your little comedy podcast.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it means too, like, it's unfortunate to hear like some of the podcasts that we used to watch that used to not be like that have actually completely turned into that. And it's just like I miss the old Tim
with
Dillon
all no, I was gonna say with all due respect to Tim Dillon, friend of the show, but but other than that, like nobody else. I don't need freaking I don't need anyone else talking about politics. We already know Joe Rogan did already turned his thoughts.
Yeah.
So let's just move it along. Tony Hinchcliffe, stop trying to just be gay and just talk about this and this to just because you just want to please this person's ball sack. Like, hey, let's just all get on with ourselves and just keep doing your little comedy podcast and stop getting so political, okay? But anyway, that was a good little catch up.
I feel like you say that after every episode.
No, because last week was a catch up episode. We were gonna actually have a guest. We had two guests for this past week, but there was a little scheduling conflict. And Caylin, before you left, you didn't mark off the calendar long enough, so two people ended up booking back to back, and we're like, we're not even available this day.
Yeah.
No, but
so I did have to fix that, and hopefully we have them trying to reschedule.
Shit. Speaking of which, when is this? When is the next guest? I forgot. Like, I hope it didn't pass again. We've already rescheduled on her like twice. Oh my god, when's the next one? Why is it
opening in a new?
Yeah, did I press something?
You're on like the Zoom.
When is it?
The 9th.
Oh, the 9th. Okay. All right. All right, they're hitting on music, people. Sick to my stomach, fam. And we'll get into more topics after our guest episode. We'll catch up and do all that.
Yes, that sounds good. I am gonna go watch Love Island now.
Oh yeah, you've been wondering about Love Island. Didn't there was some.
Oh yes, you want to talk about that briefly?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, basically Love Island starts tonight, and
who got eliminated?
Yeah, somebody.
Why is it doing that? Oh, I'm sitting on the.
Your big ass.
I'm sitting on the. That's my buzz.
No, yeah, like we could just talk about that. Yeah, so Love Island it kicks off tonight, and a contestant beat the world record for not even making it to the show. So like she didn't even get to film, and honestly she was gonna be the baddest one for me. She came out and she allegedly said the N-word, but she was singing it in a song, and a lot of people just weren't too happy. And she's
singing in a song. Why do they put in songs if they want you to sing it?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm 6% African. I can say it, right?
I think it's still bad. But yeah, so she basically is like she is not gonna be in the show. And so yeah, I don't know how they're gonna do it now, because they're gonna be like down one. I think they said that they were gonna like let like one of the because it's like you're considered an OG if you come in like in the very beginning. So you're an OG cast member, and then if you're a bombshell, it's kind of like a downgrade. So if you have to like know like the vocabulary and the lore for Love Island. But so now that she's gone, they're down one girl, and so they have an extra guy that I think they're going to end up demoting. Actually, he's not.
There need an extra guy in there. Let me audition.
No, he's going to be in. Yeah, you'd love that, but
no,
he's going to be in.
Look at my day. Like what the.
Yeah, I think they're going to end up dropping him and demoting him to like a bombshell. But it's like, okay, we already kind of know who he is. Okay. So we shall see, though. I am really excited, though. I got my cup, which I will debut hopefully on the next episode. I can show y'all my Love Island cup. because I made it myself. And you want to know something crazy? You can go on the Love Island website and buy a cup personalized with your name for $35. I made mine for $15.
Ooh, interesting. That's the economy we're in today, people.
Yes.
Get used to it.
Let me know if you want a cup.
All right. Love you guys.
I'm gonna put them on our website.
Right? Yeah, we should. We're gonna start selling Love Island cups on our website.
Copyright.
Yeah. Good. Oh.